Hello everyone, and welcome to Rating Your Skyrim Builds. So, 10 days ago, as of recording, which you can actually see everything here because I'm on the desktop, I was like, hey, in a week or two I'm going to make a video where I rate your builds, because people really liked the every Skyrim build ever, but I'm not doing another one of those just yet, maybe close to Starfield's release. So I'm just going to go through the comments here, give my feedback on the build, say if I like them, say if I don't like them, give all that stuff, and someone outside has started being noisy. Hopefully that won't pick up on the mic. Let's just get straight into this, because it's getting hot, so I need to do some quicker videos. Jacob here. Jacob? I don't know. Says, I've really enjoyed playing a jack-of-all-trades build. Main skills are Sneak, Illusion, One-Handed Destruction. You can literally throw in any skills you like. In some areas you sneak through, in others you fight it all out. Super fun, versatile build. I will say, Jack-of-all-trades, that I don't think is very good in Skyrim generally. Like, I think you're not necessarily exaggerating, but you're using a bit of everything obviously, but you're not, like, full jack-of-all-trades. I've seen people who are like, why not just do a build with 100 and everything? And it's like, because enemies will be super overpowered, and you'll be garbage. Like, I feel like a lot of people are just like, max out skills in Skyrim, but leveling up in Skyrim is a disadvantage because the enemies get stronger. So you do really want to be a bit careful about what skills you're leveling up. However, Sneak, Illusion, One-Handed and Destruction, fairly solid ones. I mean, Illusion gives you quiet casting, so you can actually use destruction spells, like, stealthily with Sneak. One-Handed, obviously, you get the backstab damage, and you've got your destruction for range. Main skills are very good. But yeah, throwing in any you like, as long as it's only a little bit here and there, I think that's fine. Like, obviously you're going to use lockpicking, that'll level up because you pick locks, and you use speech for bartering and stuff like that. But yeah, jack-of-all-trades I shy away from, but Sneak, Illusion, One-Hand and Destruction, very good combination. Good stealth build there. I'm curious how much you go into the other stuff with fighting it all out, and how versatile it would really be, because these main skills are like a super good stealthy character. So, curious about the other stuff. Doesn't really say anything about armour or whatever, but ayo. Oh, Hamilton here, I can pronounce the second name, says, I usually main a Wood Elf Scout build based off the class in Oblivion. Sometimes I switch out Alchemy for Conjuration to mix it up a bit, but I'm an Alchemy addict. I have no idea what that's like, that is a problem that solely you deal with, I've never heard of it before. But yeah, Wood Elf Scout, I feel like that's a fairly standard one for Wood Elves to go for. People will typically play them as archers and scouts. I'm guessing would be archers. I've played Oblivion a few times. I've played it on the channel. You can watch it here somewhere if I remember to put the card in. Yeah, not a lot of information here, but Wood Elf Scout, I feel like that's a very kind of, feels bad to say, but basic build, which isn't bad. It's just like, yeah, it's what you'd expect. You asked for something, here's what you expect. Perfectly fine. Dick Long here says, well, to be completely honest, the build I just finished a while ago on my 360 was pretty much an AoE/dot, so area of effect / damage over time, using mostly cloak spells or spells that continuously cause damage over time, also allowing to use spells like Mass Paralysis or Whirlwind Cloak, paralyzed enemies or knock them down and watch their health deteriorate. Use some punctuation here. I appreciate that there's at least one full stop there, but yeah, this needed punctuation. Yeah, there's a lot of kiting, also using whatever armor you wish, but it is actually very strong if you do it correctly. I can definitely see the appeal of that, and the kind of help of it all. Yeah, Mass Paralysis, Whirlwind Cloak and stuff, obviously lots of kiting, because yeah, the thing is with the damage over time with magic in Skyrim, you're typically going to be needing to get fairly close, I'd say. Yeah, with cloak spells. That does mean you're going to need to get right up to your targets, which is a very high risk, high reward build, which typically I stray away from, but I do think they can still be quite fun. Like, if I'm going high risk, high reward, it would typically be stealth based, whereas this is a try not to get hit style of thing, which I don't hate. You know what, that sounds kind of fun. I appreciate you mentioning that you do a lot of kiting. That's a good point. Clearly shows that you've, yeah, played it for a while. You say you finished it on the 360. That seems, yeah, a solid enough idea. if very, very dangerous. I give it a thumbs up. Decent idea there. Gregory here says, not a build per se, but I started my own crafting only run after watching your crafting run series. Keep up the good work, my man. Thank you very much. I'm quite happy with that series. It was one of the few Skyrim series which I look back on and go, yeah, that was a good one. Played as a female orc. I don't have anniversary edition, so standard orcish armour for now, one-handed and shield. Bought a house in Riften and kind of regretting it since there's no smelter there. Yeah. So crafting only is a fun little challenge playthrough. The build you typically go for is like heavy armour, one-handed and shield. That's what I went for. I feel like it's the best for that style of thing. Although you can go like two-handed or whatever, but one-handed is just better DPS I always find. Yeah, just fairly solid basic stuff. Obviously, one thing you have to consider with challenge runs and the like is not just, oh, skills and armour and stuff, which is what a lot of people see builds purely as, but other things like where you're going to have your house, where you're going to craft your stuff, because yeah, there being no smelter in Riften is a big issue. So you'd be better off in like Whiterun or another place where they have a smelter. Markov's got a smelter. I can only remember 2 smelters in the entire game. But yeah, I do quite enjoy challenge builds as well. I made a lot of them in the past, and when Starfield launches in a few months, there will eventually end up being challenge builds, I'm sure. Not right away though, because I'll do the easy ones first, honestly. We've got one with a reply here. So, Future Gamer 24 says, I've had the most fun with my Dragon Slayer build personally. Might see some dragon slaying on the channel soon. Playing as a male Nord, skills one-handed, block, heavy armour, archery, smithing, enchanting. Used almost every shout, dragonbone armour, dragonbone sword, shield, etc. It's got a solid theme. I can go with that, just like killing dragons, taking their stuff, makes sense. Yeah, that's about right. And the smithing, obviously going to be, well, not, it's, yeah, I suppose you do have to craft most of this stuff. I was going to say, it's not necessarily essential. You can technically get this stuff in other ways, especially if you're like on Anniversary Edition or something. But yeah, smithing definitely makes sense with this. One-handed block, heavy armour, archery, smithing and enchanting, that's pretty solid. Part of me is like, oh, is that too many skills? But you know what? That's just like, yep, combat. You've got 2 damage, long range, close range, you got 2 defense and 2 crafting, which boosts both of them. That's simply a solid build. I mean, yeah, that's gonna do good. The only problem is obviously using the dragon stuff and getting to the point of having killed enough dragons to get the dragon bones. That's the tricky part. What's the reply here? Oh, and Ben says this sounds like a true badass. Fair enough. I think, yeah, getting to the point with some of the builds where you can actually play them is sometimes the trickier part. We've got our first read more here. How big is it going to be? Okay. This is a long one. Sven! Oh, is this Kato's Sven? I'm not sure if it's Kato's Sven or a different Sven. The Vigil Enforcer. This is a Vigilant of Stendarr inspired build, using the Vigil Enforcer armour and Christsmere from the Anniversary Edition. The race doesn't matter particularly much, as long as your character worships the 9/8 divines, it works. I like to go with Breton, as the 25% magic resistance will certainly help fighting the Daedra. Major skills: heavy armour, two-handed, smithing, restoration. Optional minor skills: block, enchanting and alchemy, for cure disease potions, mostly flavour. I've included a Nuke's Dragon's link at the bottom of this post. Oh, we'll be able to look at that. For attribute distribution, I recommend a ratio of 1 magicka, 2 health, 1 stamina. Until stamina and magicka are at a comfortable level, the remaining points should all be put into health. Standing Stone I recommend using as the Lord Stone for a constant boost to your magic resistance. Alternatively, the Steed Stone can be great early on, until you've unlocked the conditioning perk in the heavy armour skill tree. For equipment, I went with a full Vigil Enforcer set. The Vigil Veteran set can also be used if you prefer the Aesthetics. Aesthetics is an A at the start. 0 out of 10. The weapon of this build is the aforementioned Christsmere. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. The Paladin's Blade seems like a perfectly fitting weapon for this Holy Crusader. For jewellery, I recommend wearing the Guldir Amulet for a boost to all 3 attributes. And the Warlock's Ring, as it synergizes really well with Christsmere. I can't remember what the Warlock's Ring does. Okay, it's, yeah, one of the fishing rings, which means it's a nightmare to get hold of, but yeah, it's a ward, it regenerates your health, and it makes you move faster. That's pretty solid. As a side note, the Steel Horse Armour pairs well with Vigilant Forcer set. I highly recommend it. I know Horse Armour DLC is a bit of a meme within the Elder Scrolls community, and rightly so, I'd say. But I do like being able to give my horse armour in Skyrim now with Anniversary Edition in order to make it look a bit more in theme. It's just a nice bit of customization, you know? And as for quests, ooh, the Lost Paladin, Forbidden Legend, No Contest, that's for getting the ring, and Unlimited Vigil are essential as they get you the equipment you need. Furthermore, the Dawn Guard DLC is fitting for this character, as are any quests related to fighting the Daedra, Necromancers, Witches, Werewolves, and the Undead. Is werewolves with an F or a V? I'm not saying this is like, oh, this person's got it wrong. I genuinely don't know. Make sure to complete the Book of Love quest for a permanent 15% magic resistance buff and some reasonably fitting roleplay. Vigilance into love? I don't know. The main quest in the Dragonborn DLC can be pursued as well. This pious character will consider defeating Alduin and thwarting Mirak's return. I didn't mean to mispronounce thwarting. Wow. My brain and the tongue stumbles on that a bit. Serving the Divines. After all, it's from them that the Vigilant Force got the Dragonborn powers. If you want to, College of Winterhold can be joined. After all, this character would have an interest in further honing their restoration magic. Makes sense. While role-playing this character, it is important to remember the zealous convictions that they hold. They despise the undead, necromancers, witches, werewolves. Wait, did you do F on one and then S on the other? I need to check this. You did! Oh, I wonder if we're both uncertain about this. And Daedra, as well as any who would consult with them. As for housing, nothing stands out in particular, however, Blood Chill Manor can be used in an almost mocking way, using the lair of slain vampires as a home. Lastly, I recommend either Ilia or Serana. I don't know who this is. Make sure to cure a vampirism. Kind of. I made a jokey cure video, which some people took very seriously. As a follower, both share the values of this character somewhat. Perhaps most importantly, as a melee build, this character will benefit from having a mage complement their physical might with magical attacks. And here is the Nukes Dragons link. Let's... No, I want to open it, and why will you not let me open it in a new tab? Okay, we're going to copy and paste it instead. Not sure why, but the Nukes Dragon page is taking forever to load. I mean, you can literally see the time here. It's been loading this entire time. So here we have the build, and none of the optional skills are being invested in, so block, alchemy, and enchanting, all just at base. Obviously with two-handed, yeah, max out Barbarian, that makes sense. You've gone into the other stuff. Honestly, I find with like, oh, yeah, whatever. Oh, you go away. I find with like two-handed and one-handed and most of these things, oh, stupid YouTube shorts, I hate them. With most of these skills, I find that you only really need the damage boosting one, especially like two-handed and one-handed. In archery, I'm a bit more like, oh yeah, let's try some of the others. But fair enough going for the others, no problem with them. Steelsmithing and Arcane Blacksmith. Do you only need Steelsmithing for a Vigil set? I'm gonna guess so, especially seeing as you have it at 100. In fact, you've got, okay, this, I was gonna be like 10 out of 10 build, great stuff. This page I don't like too much. I appreciate the like 280, 190, 190, those are solid numbers, it's level 37. What I don't like is like sneak 15, pickpocket 15, speech 20. Everything has been left at base, which realistically isn't going to happen. And the fact you've put in optional skills but not factored them into this, but all your major skills you're like max out 100%, I'd say this part is unrealistic. The build overall, very good, very solid. Realistically though, you are not going to play a game where you get smithing, heavy armor, two-handed and restoration all up to 100 maxed out without leveling up the other things. Something I found a lot while making builds was that even if I was doing it like mostly through console commands, I'd level every skill a little bit. Just a little bit, because it's a more realistic way to go. But I mean, on top of that, you've gone very heavy in like all of the perks for these three. And yeah, 37 to get all perks. Wonder if you get rid of the perks, what that changes level-wise. But, I mean, overall it's solid. I've got a bit of a problem with the Nukes Dragons not having anything, like, boosted up. I imagine this might have been just, like, a shorthand way for you to do it, and maybe the other stuff is leveled as well. Overall, I'm going to say Sven did a pretty good build here. Not a fan of the Nukes Dragons page, but everything else, very good. Covered all the details, added a bit of flavour. There's no backstory to it, which obviously I make backstories and a lot of people like them, but you don't really need it. I find a bit of a theme and role-playing to be much more important. Alright, Goblin Tacos here, once again, really cool username, says, I did a really cool unarmed build back when the game first got the patch that kept the main quest from screwing up, and I started that character. Don't know what patch you're on about, because that was a long time ago. I got the specific skills to 100 that I needed, used all the Dragonbone plate armor, can't remember the exact name, the heavy armor one, I think it is Dragon Plate, maybe? Except for the headpiece, I have the mask that had 100% Magicka regen, or 100 more Magicka, again, can't remember. All the pieces of armor had spells from more magic, enchantments, magic regen, more unarmed damage, health regen, stamina regen. Did not use a cheat to make everything ridiculous, always appreciate that. I just got the certain skills to 100, made one of the specific potions I need to make the armor, enchantments to help with smithing and enchanting. Keep going enchanting, but I didn't keep going with it. I did them once and that's it. Used alteration armor spells, it's really crazy how good that tree is. Anyways, I could punch a dragon to death with maybe 10 punches. I'm thinking it was less, but again, I can't remember. Also, don't know what difficulty you're playing on. I thought it was an awesome build, but the time to build it up and how vulnerable you are until you get everything up was a challenge, but the kill cams were so awesome. Alright, I appreciate that this is much more of a fun one. I think as like a build obviously isn't great. Like you even point out yourself, time to build it up and how vulnerable you are is a real challenge. And something I keep in mind for a lot of my builds is I don't want them to take forever to actually be made. Obviously on my end it's like I don't want to just play a character for 5 months in order to make one video. It takes long enough to make a build as it is. But even when I'm making the builds, I want to be like, okay, a player's going to be able to just spend a bit of time at this and get going fairly quickly. It's always quite important. Yeah, I'm personally not a big fan of this. I think there's like some double things here, like you're going heavy armor, you're going smithing if you've got all the Dragonbone stuff, but you've also gone alteration for armor, and the armor cap of the game is 567. If you've got alchemy, enchanting, smithing, heavy armor, and one of the best heavy armor sets in the game, you can easily hit 567 without the need for alteration armor spells. They're not going to help you much. The magic resistance could help you, but the armor, you shouldn't need that at all. As for these things, yeah, I feel like going with magic and magic regen stuff, you also wouldn't need those. You could essentially cut magic out of the build, maybe do a bit of restoration. The unarmed damage is essential. I'd go a lot bigger on the health pool as well instead of these, so there's some changes I'd make here, but also this is one which you can't remember too well, so bit of leeway there. Alright, Phobia Witch, it's another read more. We're getting into more and more read mores. How many are there? Oh wow, there's quite a few. This might take us a while. Okay, I'm going to be quick on this. I haven't made it super far into the build yet. I either keep resetting or mess up the level grind, I know that feeling, and end up underpowered for a fair bit while I try to recorrect my mistake. Of course, I also play in survival mode, making it that much harder. Dragon Priest build. Nord starts 320. I do feel like you have to say which one's which. I'm guessing that on the left you have, wait, stamina, health, magicka? Or are magicka and stamina switch? See, I'm not even sure. Do you use... Okay, it's going to be 3 magicka, 2 health, 0 stamina, judging by the skills. Standing Stone, Mage, Warrior, Lover for leveling. Steed for carry weight, Lord, endgame defense. Okay. Destruction, Heavy Armor, and Conjuration as main. Enchanting, Smithing, and Restoration as secondary. And Alchemy, Speech, and One-Handed is optional. Optional combat skill, I'm not a fan of. Like, if you're going for a combat skill, have it as a main or a secondary, don't put it as an optional one. Like, Alchemy and Speech, I get. You might, these two, good for making money, good for making things a bit easier, gives you a few buffs here. One-handed, nah. Main factions, Dawnguard, College of Winterhold, main story, Greybeard's no killing path, an axe. Dragonborn, Stormcloaks, don't raid Whiterun till after main story, do quests slowly. Okay. The Companions and Stormcloaks as an optional faction. Okay, you've put it in main and optional. Well, I haven't set on the earlier mid-game equipment still. I know the late-game gear, minus enchantments, is the Conoric Dragon Priest Mask, as one big orange, with Ebony Spell Knight armor, gauntlets, and boots. If one-handed is used, if it is an Ebony or Dragonbone Sword/Mace, however, generally this character is a battle mage. They use fire and lightning-based spells, including exploding combo style spells from Creation Club, alongside flame and storm action arcs. Restoration is of course a part of the character too, with simple and more powerful healing spells, along with some fire spells for the undead. They'll call upon a Dremora Lord in more trying times, such as fighting the machines, but generally sticking to the sun, fire and lightning is best. Even have a small backstory. They are the child of a blacksmith from Bruma who helped make basic farm equipment and simple weapons and armour for travellers. They became fascinated with magic after meeting a group of mages whose mercenary bodyguard was getting some repairs done to their weapons. They studied and read what they could, learning how to make a simple burst of fire they used to help heat the forge, and weak healing spells that helped whenever they accidentally burned or injured themselves while working. Their parents saw this love for magic growing and decided to scrape together what money they could to help send the Dragon Priest north to Skyrim to attend the College of Windhold. Of course, we all know what happens during the crossing. I will say, generally for enchantments, I would go for Destruction, Conjuration, Restoration Reduction, Magicka/Magicka regen boosts, and either Shock or Magic Resistance, perhaps with some heavy armour or carry-weight fortifications, depending on vanilla or survival. The one big glaring issue during all of this is you've called it the Dragon Priest build. I don't feel that. Like, there's nothing in here. Like, if you remove the Dragon Priest build name from it, if I just looked for all of this, I'd be like, okay, you're playing like a warlock kind of character, and who's like trying to save the world or something, doing Dragon Ball main story and Dawnguard, and College of Windhold. These are all, I'm gonna save the day, I'm gonna be the hero sort of thing. Like, I'm not sure what you're even wanting with it being the Dragon Priest. Like, you have a Dragon Priest mask, but that's about it. Like, otherwise, this is just kind of a, here's some good stuff. And yeah, the whole just a kid basically going from their family, like a very normal, basic family, to go and study magic in Skyrim. That's not a character I'd be like, the Dragon Priest. Like, I feel like the name's very kind of epic for more of a get your way up from the bottom and try and be the hero sort of thing. Like, skill-wise, I think this is all fine. Like, the one-handed I've had a problem with, but the main and the secondary, that all makes sense for me. That's like a solid, big, heavily armoured, cast lots of spells. I appreciate, like, the action arcs, in with the destruction, and a bit of restoration to heal up. Very good kind of, I'd call it a warlock. Battle mage also works, like, depending on how you're going to classify things. But yeah, my biggest problem is it being called the Dragon Priest build, and there feels like nothing really Dragon Priest about it, other than the mask, which is just one bit of equipment. Would need more Dragon Priest stuff. Either make it like someone who worships dragons, and then avoid stuff like... would you avoid Dragonborn? I mean, I'd probably avoid the main story if that was the case. Like, it's working out how exactly you'd make them a pro-dragon character without doing main story stuff, because main story stuff is like, you're gonna have to kill dragons, but if you're going for a Dragon Priest that like worships them, that doesn't really work out. I'm not too sure on it. If people in the comments have suggestions for changing it and altering things, do let me know. And at this point I'm going to have a quick peek ahead just to see how much more there is, because I might make this a two-part video. I think I'm going to do like one or two more and then call it, because there's quite a few more left, and a lot of them have a read more thing on. So I might make this a two-parter, might have the next video up in a week or two, we will see. But first up we have Sir Caven, like Skaven maybe? Nord Thief, the Great Betrayer. Fully upgraded Ebony Blade, Bow of Shadows, Cork Bow Arrows primarily, Lightning Arrows for mages and dragons, Fire Arrows for those immune to paralysis. Ebony Mail, Croesus Dragon Priest Mask, Nightingale Boots and Gloves. Straight away, that's a lot of, like, high-tier, kind of difficult equipment to get. Like, Cork Bow Arrows, I don't remember what... I don't get the Cork Bow Arrows thing. There's probably something there. Hunter's Backpack makes sense for the bow. Voldir's Lucky Dagger for assassinations. Secondary armor set can be the Dragon Bone Mail for great protection against mages and dragons. Okay, primary skills: Smithing, Sneak, Two-Handed and Archery. Most useful perks are Ebony and Arcane Smithing, all sneak attack bonus perks, all great sword perks, enough archery perks to have zoom and slow down on aim, quick draw if you can get it. Character is what I land on for my upcoming Skyrim Factory Edition highest percentage speedrun on survival mode expert difficulty. That is probably a category that only you have ever attempted. Like, I found it was when I did a anniversary edition basic speedrun that there wasn't really standard data out there for that, just easy to get like there is for most Skyrim speedruns. But highest percentage survival mode expert difficulty speedrun is... I have no idea. That feels like a lot of things to add on to a speedrun. Ebony Blade is very good at keeping you alive while fighting. Bow of Shadows is good enough for most sneak archery and also offers invisibility when needed. Betrayer became the harbinger of the companions, only to entice each new recruit out behind your Vask in the middle of the night and execute them with Ebony Blade. Lydia decapitated, like how that just gets its own sentence. Helps famed with his love story only to cut it short. You kill lots of the followers, I get it. Thieves Guild until the Skeleton Key abandons them. Current play for Raven married Ulfgerd, adopted 2 children and now doom them by siding with the Imperials. Ulfgerd always dies at the Battle of Whiterun if you side with the Empire. Very fun character to play. I mean, the Great Betrayer, unlike the last one, I'm like, yeah, I get the name, you're killing people. I feel like there's a lot of just added stuff in here. Like, if you went Great Betrayer, had this roleplay stuff, and focused more on the Ebony Blade, I'd be more into this build. But on top of the Ebony Blade, you've also been like, well, we'll have a bit of one-hand with the Lucky Dagger for assassinations with sneak. We'll also go with a Bow of Shadows and several different types of arrows so you can do stuff from range. And the Ebony Mail as well, that's... I'm not a big fan of the Ebony Mail. I know some people like it, but I'm not a big fan of it personally. Going Nightingale Boots and Gloves, like, it probably looks fairly good, but it feels a bit much. I'd prefer a build like this to be more focused. You also called it a thief, and none of this screams thief to me. Like, you've got the mix of heavy and light, and I do get that Ebony Mail is like the stealthy heavy armour, so to speak, but yeah, it feels like there's too much here. Which, considering you're doing a Skyrim Anniversary Edition highest percent speedrun survival mode expert difficulty, I think too much is kind of a theme. So, not for me. Like, there's some stuff I like, but overall I'm not a fan of this build. Alright, I think the final one we're going to do for this video is by Stephanie, which is the Artificer, and yeah, it's going to be a long one by the looks of it. Artificer, inspired by your crafting only run. See, people liked that one. Orc from a Blackmoor tribe located in the mountains of Skyrim, borders with Reveal. Yarvrock spent his childhood and young adult years of his life studying clans, crafting secret... Wait, in young adult years of his life studying clans, crafting secret. His clan's crafting secret for his father and uncle? I can't even speak anymore, which isn't helping. Whilst out with the men of the tribe, he is caught up in the Stormcloak and Imperial fight. Assuming he is a mercenary, he is cuts to Helgen. Okay, so 60% health, 10% magic is just a tiny little helping of that, and 30% stamina. Standing Stone Tower? Wait, are you saying you go for the Tower Stone as in the unlock locks one? That's a weird choice. I kinda dig it because of that. Okay, skills. Alchemy. Enhancement Potion. 2 enchanting middle branch up to extra effect. 3 smithing to orcish. 4 heavy armor, 1-handed archery. Okay. This is actually a bit of a shorter one than I was expecting. I at least appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, it's your very standard. Are you going dual wielding one-handed? See, the problem now is it's a bit short here and I don't really get it. You've obviously spent a bit of time being like, oh, I've got a bit of a theme, and then just like, here's some skills. And yeah, the enchanting going up a middle branch to extra effects is the best way to go with enchanting, I feel like. Orcish armor fits in with like, yeah, orc from the tribe thing. I've seen people complain before that there's no artificer builds out there. And more than anything, I've noticed that people just don't have like one solid definition of what an artificer is. It ranges from, I used smithing one time, to impossible because it should have a submachine gun or something crazy like that. This is fine, I guess, but it's just lacking a bit of detail. Could do with a bit more information, you know? Because I get that you're going to be using orcish armor and that's probably fine, but the start was like, oh, an artificer, you've got a bit of a backstory for them, and then there was just nothing to back that up. That's what I'd like to see. Alright, this is actually going to be the one I call this video on though. I will be recording the second video right after, will probably go up in a week or so, but I want this one to be not super long, otherwise we're going to be looking at over an hour video. So, hey, if you enjoyed, do hit the like button, leave comments with your own feedback and stuff below. There'll no doubt be a bunch of you telling me to make builds, or selling your own builds. Cool, maybe I'll make a video like this again, but I mean there's going to be part 2, but I'm recording that on the same day, so your comments won't matter for that. If you enjoyed though, subscribe for Starfield in a few months, and as always, thank you very much for watching. Sarge out.